All right, thanks a lot. Thanks, Juan, appreciate it. This is the first time I've pitched here. I've been in the audience a bunch of times, and the room looks a lot different from right here. In fact, let me get where I was told to stand. Okay, so if I advance, it'll go to there. A little bit about me. My name is Chris Velada. I'm a 20-year veteran of the education technology industry. I've worked with the first 10 years with larger companies like Blackboard and companies that were acquired by Blackboard, and then the last 10 years working directly for founders of startups in the ed tech space on the business development side, go-to-market strategy, customer success, those things. And I've always found myself selling or representing products and solutions that are brand new to market. So my favorite example is virtual classrooms 15 years before COVID. That's me. That's me. Along with my talented team of advisors, including 2 mentors from the Launch CLT program, we are trying to solve this problem. All right. I knew everybody would know exactly what this was, right? This is the nightly homework battle. Parents are tired, exhausted, kids are overstimulated, but this has to get done. And in my household, it was math. It was the multiplication tables. It was positive and negative numbers. It was these things that kids just didn't want to do. My kids just didn't want to do, right? And it's not just my kids, right? As I looked at more research about this, math scores in the US are at an all-time low. We have finally is the wrong word, but we have dropped now in international rankings. And North Carolina is no different, right? We're only slightly better than the national average. And it's low-income families that are hit the hardest here. Low-income families, 15% of 8th graders from low-income families are proficient or above. So it's disproportionate. And so that's where Sideline Math comes in, right? I wanted to build something that made the content that kids are learning in class relevant to what they already know and love, which is sports. I wanted to make it a way so kids could play independently, so there was no homework, no fighting, over homework, and less burden on parents, right? Now, I have been in ed tech for 20 years, and even I was surprised that the consumer segment is so big. Americans spent almost $40 billion on consumer ed tech in 2024, and that's going to grow. So naturally, the consumer ed tech market is pretty big, and this is the first feedback I get from investors, right? It's a crowded market. Mostly things like tutoring services, the name brands that you might recognize, as well as teachers who are moonlighting, free resources. There's online curriculum that's sold by textbook companies. But each of these has one or multiple challenges that I wanted to make sure that we were addressing at Sideline Math. And the biggest one, again, is the cost-prohibitive nature of these things. So the kids who need this the most are the least likely to get access to it. And even the free resources may be out of reach for families who have limited technology at home. So the Sideline solution addresses every single one of those red X's. Convenient, kids want to play it, low-cost freemium options, weekly achievement reports, but most importantly, this is what really separates us. We have real professional and collegiate athletes sprinkled inside the game to motivate kids. We use math examples from real sports. So positive and negative yards gained and lost in football is a great way for kids to understand positive and negative numbers. And it's all put into a cohesive game. Man, okay, 2 minutes, good. So I'll walk you through it real quick. It's a lot like SimCity. You start out with a very basic expansion team, expansion franchise. Kids can customize it, name, sport, logo, things like that. Then they'll answer sports-based math problems to earn tokens, then use those tokens to upgrade the stadium, right? They'll progress from expansion team all the way up through championship-winning dynasty. Throughout the game, we have sprinkled in these proven engagement strategies. These are things that are baked into everything you know, right? Peloton gives you badges for streaks, right? So kids get different badges for achievements. They get the video messages of motivation and encouragement, and video pop quizzes and things from the athletes. And then internal messaging. Now, take a deep breath here and switch. So Sideline Math, Sideline Education fits in between 2 very big markets, right? Consumer ed tech, $40 billion. Youth sports, $20 billion market in the US. But to keep things simple, just start with all the kids, right? There's 50 million kids in the US, 20 million of them play sports. If we can get 2% of them, that's 400,000 users at $5 a month SaaS license, $24 million in ARR. This is just an estimate based on the number of youth athletes. Obviously, there are youth who enjoy sports but may not be registered right now to play. So that's actually going to be a bigger number. Revenue channels. So first of all, this is a B2C, freemium SaaS model. We want to reach the parents. We want to sell this to highly engaged, busy parents who are spending more than $1,000 a year on youth sports. These are parents who invest in things that are going to give their kids an advantage: private tutoring, private coaches, batting, things like that. Then we'll move to institutional licenses, nonprofit organizations or mission-driven organizations, summer camps, libraries, etc. Finally, when we got about 10,000 users, we can sell to branding deals for athletic brands and retailers and things. So we started user testing 2 months ago with 100 youth athletes from 3 different local sports clubs and programs. And the results have been significantly better than I expected. So 40% of the players who had the pilot, who used this prototype that we've just launched, completed all of the available content. They finished the prototype and are ready for the second level, because the prototype was only the first level of the game. Did get some great feedback about things to enhance as far as adding more math topics, making it appeal to a larger audience, simplifying the registration process, some good stuff like that that'll go into the second level. Right? And that's why now is the right time for us to be seeking a seed round. Right? I need to finish the product. That's the most important thing. Complete levels 2 through 5, complete the product, add some fractional executives to help out with marketing and operations. And I think if we do that, we can reach 10,000 users in 18 months, 20% growth rate, and the spikes there are aligned with professional and collegiate sporting events, Final Four, World Series, things like that, where we can do some marketing around it. So that's it. Thank you very much. Your kids can play the, prototype now, and if you've got any introductions to athletes, investors, or teams, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you can go. I was going to shoot the QR code.
I have a sticker for you, too.
Where you on?
You got your own.
Oh. I will let the software experts go after me, because I'm sure they have deep dive questions, but I'll give you some general pitch feedback. You started with, or you probably 7 slides in, you had that picture. Move that all the way up to the front. Yeah. Because if it's a common, somewhere in there. If this is your problem, move it way up to the front, because everybody laughed and they got it. So don't spend so much time getting here, because you ran out of time by the time we got to what the actual product was. And so we all kind of fell off from this lab to what your actual product was way too long. Mm-hmm. So I would say start here, trim it down. The front end of this, all of those are important things, so that's 1 slide. Hit the market dynamics, hit all of that, but after this. This is your problem. You want to tell me how your product fixes this problem, and then the other stuff really quickly. I mean, I'm a professor, and my mini hats that Juan keeps leaving off.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if you know this problem, you can imagine that people are trying to solve it. You mentioned a crowded market. I still don't know how your product really fits into that. I mean, people do the chart with the check boxes, but you're going to have to tell me how your product breaks through. And you don't want to spend all of your time if you have a kid, probably your kid's not doing great at math. If you weren't great at math, for example, some of these are guttural and instinctive. You don't have to waste your time telling us that. We get it because we laughed at this. So you don't want to waste your time there. I think it's intriguing. Also, you tested it already, so you want to get us there. If you haven't finished your product, you want to get us to what the next steps are. So I want to know about the product. If you spend a bunch of time building up with story and storytelling, it almost makes me feel like you don't have a product. And so I try to tell a lot of pitchers just that thing. When you do a ton of storytelling ahead of time, it just tells me you haven't done anything on the back end, and you actually did. So just keep that in mind.
First of all, great job. I think overall very clear message and story, which is half the battle here. The slides are just a crutch essentially to tell the bigger story. So props to you on that. I think from a visual standpoint, very clean slides, right? Like the purpose of the slide is so that if someone's not paying attention to you, they can just read the headline and understand the key takeaway in 2 seconds. And I think you really did a good job at nailing that and what those key takeaways are. I think also a very strong structure. So the classic kind of pitch deck structure, and we'll see more of these today, is right. You start with the opening, who you are, what you do, but then it's straight into problem solution. and really like hitting problem solution up front, I think is the best way to sort of get the audience's attention here. On sort of like the need for improvement areas here, I love that you opened with team. Early stage investors are investing in team. Yes, we care about market. Yes, we care about product. Yes, we care about traction, all those things. At the end of the day, if you find an amazing founder in a terrible market, a terrible product, and a terrible, like no traction, we're still investing in that team all day long. So you literally whizzed through your background in about 10 seconds. And I'm wondering, like, what makes you and your team like the right guys to solve this problem, and what gives you that competitive advantage to win in this seemingly competitive market. So at least a quarter of this presentation just talking about this is so important for you and why you guys are going to be the ones that are able to solve this problem. The second sort of piece on that too is you had a slide on advisors. Advisors are great. It's helpful for you. It's a placeholder for investors. I think we've seen so many sort of advisor slides that ultimately do not tell you anything, right? Like, advisor could be someone that founder talks to once a year. It doesn't mean we're going to invest because they have a famous face on that slide.
Well, it depends on the face.
Yeah. Well, at early days, who knows? And then last but not least here, I think like I didn't hear market or distribution strategy. So once again, it comes back to this like crowded market that you self-admitted. And I'm like, what is the distribution hack here that's really going to allow you to get penetration and ultimately like create a business that has sound unit economics? Consumer SaaS is very hard because the customer acquisition costs are high and the LTVs are low. So how are you guys going to crack that nut? And go for it.
It was definitely rushed through. It didn't quite get to all the stuff. But the lessons that I've learned, I'm also kind of a serial passion project entrepreneur, right? I wrote a kid's book. It's about a motorcycle, a kid who rides a motorcycle to the North Pole. It's a Christmas book. And I'm getting there, I promise. There's what, hundreds of thousands, millions of books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, right? But there are 0 books at a Harley shop. So I took my book to the places where the audience is going to be with disposable income. So that's what we'll do with Sideline. The B2C part is going to be highly ingrained in the local, well, to start, local Charlotte Youth Sports League. So imagine, a Humvee shooting T-shirts at a youth sports opening weekend or something, right? Like that's the kind of excitement that will build as far as getting those paying customers. And then the other options are going to be, the institutional license is my thing, right? That's what I grew up doing. That's my 20 years of experience. So kind of to address it, it is difficult to fit all that stuff into 6 minutes, for sure. Hope that helps. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think, well, again, it's all about focus, right? So like you can't do every one of these business models out of the gate. Right. So what one is going to be the highest ROI for the lowest amount of capital, basically?
I think B2C is the way to start. We'll need some product improvements to get to the institutional licenses, and then you need users to get to the B2B2C. So they're sequential.
Thanks, great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's see. I don't know if we have any time left. Any time? Okay. So I would just point out 2 slightly different things. If I'm looking at an opportunity like this, that's especially in the consumer space, I know a lot more about B2B software than I do consumer software, but I'm going to be particularly interested in seeing that you demonstrate a pretty deep understanding in at least one slide of what your competition is. So I might enhance the deck a little bit, even in a short pitch, about just kind of awareness of the competition. That kind of leads into points of differentiation. And you mentioned the athlete part. I'd like to hear more about that. So I know you got 6 minutes, so I get that part. But like, if you have cracked the code on something that's distinct and unique in that regard, and that it scales meaningfully and perhaps, provides localization and, I don't know, you could get into the nil space with this maybe, I don't know. But like that part I'd like to hear a little bit more on as an investor, because that to me also is a part of the business that is unique and could become an interesting kind of pattern, with your next app and the next bit of subject matter you want to, like if that's a way to tap the market, that's very different, because I think it's very hard to go to battle in kind of the, just consumer app world. Like, how do you get people's attention? Cost of customer acquisition is super high, so I get nervous about those things. So I would see you being able to point to where you fit in the competitive landscape, and then how you're differentiating. And that athlete thing, I think you could talk about probably for hours, but that part could be really interesting to me. So, yeah. And I like your shirt.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I would definitely buy one of those shirts.
The shirts
I
are
suck
good.
at math, so I'd probably buy the app too. But I love the shirt.
The shirt is good.
Sideline.